Hello, this is Tom Stiles, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show. And we're here at the Hammock Park, which is the park I decided to move to for my field testing of radios. And I did a video a couple of shows ago about several parks to try, and I think I've settled on this one for now. I wasn't going to come this morning because last night we had heavy rain, and I was afraid that there might be a lot of water standing here in the park. Plus, I was concerned that if the fields had not been mowed, it would be kind of wet. Well, I decided kind of late to go ahead and come and see what it's like. And apparently the field has just been mowed because it's nice and short, and they're right here in this area. There's no standing water. Now, when I did go to the area where the restrooms were, there was some fairly significant standing water, but none here. This is kind of maybe the high area of this park. Now, note that this park is basically at sea level. It's only about a quarter of a mile west of here that there's water, salt water. It's not the Gulf of Mexico, but it's inland water area that goes out to the Gulf of Mexico. So we're pretty close to the Gulf of Mexico. So we're basically at sea level. So I lose the advantage at my house where I'm at 65 feet. And of course, in Florida, 65 feet is high. So anyway, here's my setup, and I'm using this area that has this disc golf pole here, right here, and I've got my fishing pole attached to that, and it's up about 15 feet in the air. So that's what I'm going to be using this morning for my external antenna. So we're going to move around over by my chair and try to get the camera set up so that's giving you a view over my shoulder. Should be about right there, I hope. Let me go sit down and see if I can see in the viewfinder. So I can sit down without falling. Okay, there's a viewfinder. Right there would be the radio. That looks good. Okay, let me get back up because I got one of the radios in my pocket. And here it is. And if you've been watching my other shows, the reason I've gone to a different park than one that I normally use is I found out there is a medium wave station within 2 miles of that park that just clobbers shortwave, makes it basically unreadable. Now, I hadn't done a lot of shortwave testing there. I had mainly used that park for testing 2 meter and 440 megahertz radios, amateur radios. So, and it works great. That park works great for that because it's so far up, it's away from any interference from medium wave. But shortwave just gets killed by that number of medium wave stations, and especially the one where the transmitting tower is within 2 miles of that park, and it kills. And the radio I initially tested at that park was this little Tecsun 606. I always get that mixed up with the 660. There are major differences between the 606 and the 660. And I brought the 660 with me. Now, it is 9:13 in the morning here in Florida. So it's not the ideal time to be listening to shortwave. But I mainly wanted to just kind of see what the setup's going to be like, if it's going to work, and then maybe in subsequent shows that come later in the day, say about an hour before sundown, which right now in the summer it's going to be about 7:30, and then band conditions for shortwave have improved normally by that time. So we're going to look for interference again like we had at the other park, same time of day. Of course, conditions are always different, but we're going to try it. So I'm going to first start with just using the built-in telescopic antenna. And I'll turn the radio on. And there's WWV, 10 megahertz. Not too strong. Well, I take that back. The signal is strong enough that I'm getting the broadcast from Hawaii because I heard the female voice, which you hear before the male voice at the minute, at the top of the minute. So that's working. Let me just try doing a scan and see what it picks up and see if I get that interference from that medium wave station. So here we go. Okay, it's scanning right now. I guess I could have zoomed in with the camera, but I always run the risk if I zoom in and the camera, the radio gets out of the frame of the camera. So not going to zoom in. Just trust me on what I'm seeing and what I'll tell you what I'm seeing. So it's scanning right now and it's up to 4.8. It's got no hits, no hits. There's one, it's got one hit at 5 megahertz plus. What I do get in the early mornings, well, I call it the late mornings because it's after 9 o'clock, is I do get a lot of nearby Spanish-speaking stations here in Florida. And I do get a lot of the religious stations out of Tennessee. But I don't get like China Radio or Radio Australia. I'd have to get here really early to get Radio Australia. I'd have to get here about 7 a.m., which I don't know if it's daylight at 7 a.m. yet. Yeah, it is. So I could do that. Okay, we just passed 10 megahertz. And again, this is only scanning the international shortwave bands. It's not scanning the entire shortwave band. And I got 11 hits. And the thing we want to find out is, are any of those hits from that medium wave station or any other ones? I checked the map and there aren't any other ones nearby. And we are about 8.3 miles, I believe, now away from that station. Okay, we got 13 hits and we're at 15 megahertz. You gotta always be careful and try to keep the radio in the frame of the camera. Not too bad this morning with that rain. It kind of cooled it off, but it's 100% humidity. As a matter of fact, when I first stepped out of my truck, my glasses fogged up because it was cool in the truck. Okay, we're up to 13 hits, 21.6 megahertz. Should be finishing up here in a few seconds and see what we got. Okay, here's the first one. It's 5.025. Yep, that's a locals. I say local, it's not really local, but it's a Spanish-speaking station. Okay, we're going to move up. Oops, I went the wrong way. I always go the wrong way on this radio.
The hell just because they don't believe in Jesus. Surely God won't send them to this terrible place. After all, aren't all
Okay, that's at 9.35.
what we need to do is just pull in the good of all.
And that's one of the religion stations, probably out of Tennessee, but no medium wave interference. Clear channel. go, let's see, I gotta remember which way to go. That's the wrong way. Now there's a Spanish station. And it almost sounds like there's some interference there with another station. Can't really tell because the station itself is not very clear. Let's move up. Now there's a Spanish station. It's loud and clear. 9.640. Now keep in mind, I'm not using the external antenna yet. Another one.
Radio Australia, Shepparton, Victoria.
Sounds like another station from Tennessee.
Adventist World Radio. Now let's go to Japan. Here's Yuki.
Not sure what that is. 11.55. No interference. Of course, another Spanish. Another one. Another one. Boy. Whatever that station was, it's all with a band. Okay there. All right. So it didn't have any interference using the built-in antenna, so we're going to collapse that now. We have one of the Rangers going by in his little go-kart. And we're going to use the external antenna, and this is where I ran into problems with interference from a local medium wave station at the other park. We're going to plug that in. We're going to do an ETM again. And there she goes. And while that's doing that, I'm going to take a quick drink here. There's one thing about Florida. In the summer, you need to stay hydrated. Okay, we're up to 4.7 megahertz. And if I'm reading this correctly, we already have 22 hits. Whoa. That's the, the advantage of having external antenna. All this is I don't know if this, I think this antenna actually came with this radio. And it's just a long piece of wire, about 20 to 25 feet long, with the proper jack to plug it in to the proper plug to plug it into the external jack. We got 31 hits already, and we're up to 9 megahertz. Excuse me, 29 hits. Now we're up to 34. What I saw before, the 31 was the 31 meter band. It tells you when you switch bands. So now it's a 25 meter band. 50 hits at 11.7 megahertz. 63 hits. Wow. Could take a while to go through this. We're only up to 13.6 megahertz. I hope nobody wants to play disc golf this morning, because where we're situated is we're at one of the tees, I'll call it, for it's got a number someplace around here, what number this particular hole is, but we're using their pole there to hold up the antenna. A lot of people here with their dogs. Okay, we're up to 18 megahertz, and we got 106, 106 hits. Oh my gosh. 21 megahertz, we're almost done. Again, I'm using the external antenna. Okay, it's finished, 107 hits. And let's see what we got. something there at 2.3 megahertz. Very weak.
AAA members receiving a ghost.
Is that signal ever coming in strong? 2.31 megahertz.
Find out what others pay for the car you're looking for.
Ooh,
Then register to see
I hear two stations. I bet you it's that same transmitter. Let's go to medium wave. Okay, that's the one I was getting before, bleeding into shortwave. 820 kilohertz. Go back to shortwave. Yeah. So that same station is bleeding in. Let me turn this down. I'm even thinking the primary station I'm hearing may be a local medium wave station too. It's so strong. Yeah, one of the two stations just said Tampa Bay, so that's probably that 820 megahertz station. We switch back again. It might be another one that I've gotten too close to. No, that's what it is. Okay, now I'm gonna turn the audio back up, and I'm gonna unplug the antenna, external. And of course the telescopic antenna is down. I'll extend it again. Getting the same thing if I listen real closely. I'm getting those two stations, even with just the telescopic antenna. So let's see what else we got. So we definitely can't listen to that, but it's local. We can listen to it, but why bother? Same medium wave station. Yeah, he's all with the band. Yep. Oh, that medium wave station is still booming in. And we're at the low end of shortwave, so we could be hitting one of the first or second or third harmonic of that medium wave station, which still is pretty strong on those harmonics. So we need to get away from that lower band. So let's move on up. I'm going to go up. There's 4 megahertz. I can hear him in there. I say he because there's a male talking. Now we're at 7.490 and I'm not hearing the local station.
Technical portions of
The Spanish station, I don't hear the local medium wave. Oops. Nothing there though. I think that's the local station.
Yeah, popping up. All right. So, okay, so this lender out in California, Rob. So let me give a little background here. This is the lender.
I just heard them announce. Oops, let me turn this down. I just heard them announce that what I was hearing was 970, which is another very strong radio station, medium wave radio station, but it's across Tampa Bay, so it's quite a ways from me, at least the main tower. There may be other sub towers, but that's booming in here at 9.370 megahertz, and the primary station is on medium wave 970 kilohertz. So let's move on up the band here quickly. Very strong station, Christian station.
Down temporarily by Tuesday. Of the 95 MERS cases confirmed so far, only one has involved a child, a high school student who contracted the disease at some medical center.
Okay, that's at 9.570. It's coming in very clear, and I can very weakly hear, it's probably not a correct statement, but I can hear way down in the background a local medium wave station. So I'm going to stop right now before I use up all my storage on my camera, and we're going to switch over to the big Bertha Tecsun portable radio, the 660, real quickly, and see if it suffers from the same problem. Okay, here is the PL-660, and we're going to go directly to the external antenna, and we're going to turn the radio on, and we're going to go to the shortwave band, and we'll listen to WWV for a second. Kind of weak, but it doesn't surprise me this time of day. So now we're going to do, I can't remember which one of these ATS buttons you use to get the full scan. Let me just try one, see if it's the right one. So push and hold down arrow. And that looks like it's doing a full scan. And this will take a while. Again, it's only scanning the international bands. And so far we've not gotten a hit. So that's kind of good news, meaning that it's probably not getting that interfering medium wave station. Okay, we got 2 hits now. We're up to 3.9 megahertz. And hopefully we'll have just enough time on my camera to review what it finds before it runs out of storage space. Interesting story in that I got a extra memory card for this particular camera, which is a Sony camera which uses the Sony memory cards, but they now have third-party adapter cards that you can plug in a standard SD card into the adapter and plug that into the camera, and you can get a lot more storage. The problem is when I plug that in, the camera reports that there's a problem with the memory card. But I did a couple of quick tests and it did record. So I'm going to have to do some more extensive testings to see if I should just ignore that and go ahead and use it even though it's saying it doesn't like the memory card, because that'll give me a lot more storage, because I've got I think it's either a 16 or 32 gig card. It's a 16 gig, now I remember that. It's a 16 gig card, which this camera typically will use up to, I think, 32 gigs of the standard Sony memory card pay through your nose, but it doesn't like this particular add-on knockoff adapter thingy-majig. But we'll see, because the card I've got in there that's actually a Sony card only gives me 59 minutes of record time, which is pretty close to the amount of time that the battery gives me, and I only have the one battery. The camera itself is probably 10 years old, maybe more, so it's not what you call a modern, up-to-date camera, but it gets the job done. Yeah, I'm babbling because it's scanning now, and it's kind of just boring to sit there watching it do the scan. Somebody asked me which I would prefer, the Grundig 750 radio or the PL-660 as far as best value. Well, for me, I'm a little different because I like a big table radio for home use with big readouts, big tuning knobs. You know, this little tuning knob here is kind of wimpy. It's okay, you know, it's good as any portable radio. And so I couldn't really answer the question fully because they're two different animals. So you're kind of comparing apples and oranges with a table model versus a portable model. But of the radios I have, the 750 is my favorite table model, and the PL-660 is my favorite portable model. The PL-660 has a lot of features, and it does a good job. Now, there are some other radios that I have, like the DGen 1103, which I like, but I don't really like the display on the GG 1103. Otherwise, it's a great radio too. Let's see. Oh, it's done. Alrighty. And there's the first station. Noise. There's no medium wave station coming in. I didn't get anything below 3.2 megahertz. So that's good. More noise. We're getting some static this morning. There's probably still some storms offshore, so we're getting some lightning crashes. Just noise. Just noise. There's 5.02, it's not recognizable, it's a little bit off frequency. That's one problem with using this type of function where the radio searches for strong signals. Sometimes it gets noise, sometimes it gets the station, sometimes it doesn't get right on the frequency. So probably this is just off the correct frequency, so you'd have to go into manual tuning and tune around it to get it to come in clear. Yeah, there it is. 5.025. So the other one it was a little off frequency. A little muffled, but loud and not so clear, but loud. Okay, so far I have not gotten any of those medium wave stations so far. Of course, I haven't got much of anything else. Some kind of interference in the background, almost sounds like a radar. or maybe some kind of data.
Stop volunteering to go fight sports, they'd have no one to go to.
I think that's out of Nashville, Tennessee.